This episode is brought to you by ElevateOS, the only all-in-one community operating system. ElevateOS transforms property management, combining resident engagement, reservations, rent payments, maintenance, and concierge services into a single super app. It also uniquely integrates access control, intercoms, package lockers, and thermostats, eliminating app fatigue and redefining modern apartment living. Visit elevateos.com/MMN for a free demo and see how they can help you level up your operations. Welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Collective. We're continuing in the Thereby series based on the old-fashioned leadership book written by Britton, Douglas, and David Woods. Still attempting to get them on the podcast because I think we would have a very fascinating conversation about business at large, but certainly and specifically about the multifamily industry. Doing a Thereby series, Thereby they talk to some CEOs in their roundtables and determined or discerned that there is a tremendous amount of fatigue in leadership, or let's call leadership fatigue in industries, broadly speaking, but also I would suggest in the multifamily industry. And they talked about it in terms of what they complain about, rather, is team members. Team members make them tired. Team members make you tired. Team members make me tired. One of the points that they kind of harvested out of this exercise, harvested out of these conversations, was the lack of maturity and professionalism that is making leaders tired in industry. I think this is pretty interesting. We could get into all kinds of conversations as it relates to generations. I think there are 4 or 5 different generations working or in the workplace today. You have sort of traditionalists, you have baby boomers, you have Gen Xers, you have millennials, and now you have Gen Y moving into the workplace. And pretty soon we're going to have the alpha, I think call them the alpha generation is the next one coming up. If I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken about that. Don't quote me there. But anyway, we might have as many as 5 generations into the workplace. We talk about all the reasons for that, why people are working longer than ever before. But the point that I'm getting to is this. You always have conflict between generations. And the generation of now thinks that the generation before is slow and old and stodgy and so on and so forth. And the generation before thinks that the younger generations are the wild, wild west. They have no respect and certainly they feel like they're entitled. They want to be the president of the company tomorrow without the time and the reps of getting into that space. It's interesting because I've worked in the workplace now for, I think, through 2 different generations, let's say plus minus. Certainly been exposed to all of these generations. And I do have some of those thoughts. When I was young, I had some of those very thoughts about the older generations. And now that I'm older, I have some of those thoughts about the youth in our workplaces. But the lack of maturity and professionalism, I will say, just from this guy's perspective, one guy's opinion, it does seem, as evidenced by anytime I go out into the world, I go to a restaurant, I go to a retail establishment, I go to anywhere where there is face-to-face customer service moments, where there are face-to-face customer service moments. And by and large, the customer service and the professionalism of people in those settings is really bad. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but there are many occasions, and I could name them, you would know them, the Starbucks of the world, the restaurants, whether they be local or chain restaurants across the country, just bad. You go in and you sit down to eat, and it's a good 5 minutes before somebody walks up to greet you at the table, to ask if you want some water or you want anything. I've had that happen to me more than a handful of times as of late. It seems like the catalyst moment was COVID. COVID happens, and then all of a sudden we get programmed that it's okay to work from home. It's okay to sort of diminish our expectation as it relates to customer service, and it is diminished our expectation to provide really good customer service. So anyway, the point that I'm getting to is there's a lack of maturity and professionalism in the business world today, and I think that manifests itself also in the multifamily space, site level, corporate level, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we could argue that it might be because we have so much on our plates that it impacts our customer service, and that might be true. I'm not sure. There might be so many things in our environment that are giving cause for us to divide our time and divide our minds that we're not really present when we're giving good customer service, or we're being mature or professional. Or we could just argue that people are just immature and not professional because they didn't grow up in a world. This is our father's world. This is not your father's world. This is a different world today. And there are blurred lines as it relates to what the definition of professionalism is and what the definition of maturity is in a workplace. And I think those blurred lines thereby cause friction in our organizations as it relates to customer service, as it relates to peer-to-peer interactions and sort of getting things done through those peer-to-peer. The hierarchy is no longer respected like it was some time ago, where I think we need to, this is, guys, again, my opinion, having been in business a very long bit of time, I think there is a level of professionalism and a level of maturity. This is a baseline that you have to get, you have to solve for. And that comes through dress, hygiene, attire, all of it. It's a package deal. And you have to show up each day, and you have to be professional, and you have to be mature. You have to handle yourself in a socially mature way with clients that you're dealing with customers that you're dealing with your other team members, with investor and supplier partners. Sometimes team members think that treating supplier partners in a rough and rude way is okay. It's not okay. They're people. They're people first. They're salespeople second. And that's their livelihood. And their industry and their services make your service work. So it doesn't suffice to say, it doesn't make sense that you would treat those people with any kind of discord. So all that to say this, get those things straight in your organization, thereby you produce positive outcomes, you produce positive reputation, and you make an environment and a culture that is conducive to doing good business. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.